Hello, 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 and welcome to episode 34 of Ask the Angels, the episodes where we answer your rent to rent questions. If you have a question that you would like me to answer in one of these episodes, please go to rent to rent to rent to rent success.com/ask ask your question there and we will answer it here. Today's episode, we've got another fabulous question for you. And today's is all about shyness. And Olu has asked this question. I know it's something that a lot of people struggle with. It's something we do need to overcome. So here's Olu's question. I'm shy. The idea of speaking to agents terrifies me. In your episodes with Joseph, he mentions that he felt shy too. So my question is, how did he get over it? How can I get over it? And it feels impossible. And I know that many of you will be able to relate with that. So to help me answer that today, I'm not on my own. You will see that we have with us Mark Wilson, who is a global expert on sales for introverts. It's going to be golden today. If this is an idea that you can resonate with, if you feel shy or nervous, then you're going to love today's episode. He's founder of Sales for Introverts, which trains hundreds of people all across the world in how to become confident, comfortable salespeople who earn more money. And he's host of the Sales for Introverts podcast. Mark is an introvert and a salesman, and he's used the skills that we're going to talk about today to build his own territory to multi-million pounds in revenue per year in his construction supplies business. So Mark describes himself as definitely, unequivocally, and unashamedly 100% introverted. I describe Mark as fun and funny. And I love the way he says, y'all. So I think you're going to love this episode where he's going to be explaining some of the techniques to unleash yourself to unleash your confident salesperson within. Welcome to the show, Mark Wilson.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Well, it's wonderful to have you with us. It's lovely to have your accent on the show as well. So that's a little bonus for us all. So, Mark, tell us your story. How did you get into Sales for Introverts?
Sure. Well, I want to say first that I can definitely identify with shyness to the point of being terrified. Okay. And that's part of my story. Um, it starts at the very beginning when I was young. And here's an American joke for you to start off. People always joke about how much Americans drink sugary drinks and just this constant supply of beverages over here. And in the States, yeah, when you sit at a restaurant, you get free refills just over and over and over again. But as a child, uh, as a young child, less than 10 years old, I was too scared to talk to the waiter and raise my finger and say, could you give me another Coke or a Sprite, And so I had to make my younger sister, who was 2 years younger than me and so much smaller in stature, I would elbow her and be like, look, hey, ask him for a refill, please. So shyness is a big part of my story, and that's actually something that I eventually grew out of. But introversion, I did not grow out of. That is me still. Here I'm in my mid 30s, and I'm embracing it now. And actually, I enjoy it now. So I can definitely say that unequivocally, as you stated. But yeah, I decided to go into sales and as my career path. And I'm sorry, thing keeps going off. I decided to go into sales as my career path, and that's because I intentionally put myself in a position to where I would grow. And I put myself in this uncomfortable position because I knew it was something that I needed to work on in my life. So, and shyness isn't necessarily synonymous to introversion. Like I said, I grew out of being shy, but I chose a career in sales on purpose. So I'm either brave or an idiot. I'm not really sure. Probably a combination of both.
It sounds about right. So that's really interesting that you said there, Mark, because I was using them as synonymous. But actually, because I'm an introvert myself, I know they're not synonymous. So tell us, what's the difference between shyness and introversion?
Sure. Yeah, shyness is sort of a character trait. My wife is shy, but she's extroverted. And so she again, use the restaurant analogy. She'll ask me to order the food sometimes, or she wants me to talk to the doctor when we're calling about our kids, or she wants me to make these in-person relational decisions and conversations because she's a little bit shy. But I'm not shy anymore, but I'm super introverted. So I don't mind sharing public information with you, but private information, oh no, it's not going to happen. And it's not going to happen on this podcast either. So don't even try. Okay. Don't ask me any private questions.
All
Uh,
right. Okay. That's me told.
yeah, but introversion goes a lot deeper than that. It has to do with your preferences and what you like to do, what makes you happy, how social you are. It doesn't mean that you stay at home all the time and you're a hermit. You just might be more suited to smaller groups, more intimate discussions. Like I just said, private discussions as well, versus uh, being out there, going out to parks, going out to clubs and parties all the time. A lot of people say it's where you get your energy from, and I agree with that to some extent.
Yeah, yeah. That was the turning point where I realized, oh my goodness, I'm an introvert. That explains so much because I really
Yes.
do get my energy from being alone. And I wondered why sometimes in social situations I would start to feel worn out or you know but yes, I'm going off the story. So it was good to hear your story. Did we get to the end of it, Mark, and how you came round? We didn't, did we?
Well, just long story short, I've been in sales since 2008 now, and I wanted to quit. I wanted to transfer out so many different times, but I just felt out of my element, still felt out of my comfort zone years into it. And just gradually, I started to turn the ship in the right direction as I embraced, because I understood who I was, and I was an introvert, still a little bit shy, not a lot, but still a little bit. Um, and I moved the ship in the right direction, so much so that wanted to start helping others who felt the same way. Other people who are uncomfortable, nervous, even shy. That's great. So, anyways, I just started contemplating on it so much. So I was like, wow, this I could really make a course about this and make a platform about this, because I feel that uh, motivated and resonating with other people who have the same struggle. So that's why I started Sales for Introverts. Long story short.
So Mark, you've been so phenomenally successful in sales. And I know that's one of the things that inspired you because it started off not looking very good. You were thinking of leaving sales even many years into it. But then you not only turned it around, but you became, a leader in your company. And so I would just like to learn a little bit more about how tell us a little bit about that.
Kind of how I did it.
Yeah, and what the success was, if you can sort of give, I doubled or tripled, I 10x, or what
Sure.
was the period and so on.
Well, I mean, in my personal career, my sales career, yeah, I 10x'd over how many years? I've changed positions. So in my previous job, I don't know, I maybe five times over my
Mm.
career there over 5 years, and then recently it's been about 10 times over another 5 years when I started over from zero.
Yes.
So that's just, yeah, it works, and not all of that's me. I'm not that great of a guy. As far as a salesperson goes, I'm just a normal dude and
Mhm.
just trying to figure it out. So that's where we are.
Yeah, but using the skills that you're about to tell us about, using some of these techniques is what allowed you as part of your company to 5x in 5 years and then really take off and 10x over the next 5 years. And we're talking pretty big numbers here because this is a multi-million pound revenue territory that you're running. And so to 5x and 10x on those sort of numbers is incredible. So I just wanted to make that point about how useful this is and how even if you were too shy to ask the waitress for a top up, you can really turn things around. So I would love to know, because we do need to be able to sell the idea of renting a property to us to either a landlord or a letting agent. And many of us are terrified about that. And so I'd love to know, Mark, if you've got what are the top three points that people could implement into what they're doing to really see success in this area?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I got more than three. I might have like four and a half. Okay.
I
Is
love
that
it.
okay?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. Here's the half part. So you're shy, you're nervous, hard to catch your breath. Your palms might be sweating a little bit because you're about to make a phone call to try to sell something or pitch something to an agent. Okay. So my first recommendation is take a deep breath in, because if you're anything like me, you've probably hidden from unnecessary forms of human contact for years. You've used the internet, you've used streaming and Netflix as primary forms of contact. And so, my first reassurance to you would be that, and this sounds really basic or elementary, but it's important to remember it's that the world is filled of people just like you going about their day. They're just so used to it that when you come out, the shy little church mouse, right? And you finally come out, you get crazy overwhelmed. And that's okay. So, what we need to do is figure out how to get to a level where you can comfortably and confidently communicate with these people, these agents that you need to talk to, or anybody that you're shy towards. So, maybe just tell me really quick, Stephanie, like what are the agents like that you deal with? Are they super busy? Are they running around all the time? Are they really short with you? Like,
Yeah,
what?
can
Yeah.
be. So the letting agents tend to be busy. They tend to want to get to the point quickly. They're always looking for the next commission. So they are open to hearing an idea that's going to mean that they get their commission more quickly. But yeah, you do have to be on your game. They probably haven't got a lot of patience.
Yes. Okay. So that's good. And that can be intimidating, right?
Mm, mm,
Okay.
very much. Yeah.
Yes. All right. So here's some ideas then. First of all, where I would start is do your research. Make preparations. Don't just call somebody thinking you have a great idea. Do your research first and prepare. Even for this talk that we're doing right now, I had to prepare. I had to sit down for maybe 30 minutes or an hour and think about what I was going to say when we were going to talk. It's not going to be any different for you when you are calling these agents for the first time or emailing if you just email them. But so you would know your market and what the expectations are of you when you're talking to these agents. Um, so I did a little research too, and I went back and listened to your podcast. I think it was Ask the Angels or Ask the Angels, if I pronounce it correctly. Uh, number 26,
Yeah.
number 26, which was about making offers without insulting people.
Oh yes. Yeah.
And then number 24, which was something about somebody didn't feel confident talking to
Yes.
agents.
Yeah.
Similar topics, similar ideas.
Yeah.
And certainly somebody who's shy is going to resonate with both of those. And I think it was in 26, I can't remember, or it might have been 24. You need to listen to both of them. If you're shy, you need to listen to both of them. But you were talking about how, hey, listen, here's all the things that we can provide for you. Here's a laundry list of things that you don't have to do now. Sure, you're going to take less money, but I take so much more of this responsibility, and your life is going to be so much easier listening to my proposal on this particular property. If you go through all of those things, all of those expenses, all the little annoying things in the day, uh, that's like the majority of the homework that you need to do. And you don't necessarily have to sound like me when you're pitching it to them, but you can get excited about it and have a sheet that they don't see in the background, but that you're ready to go one by one, marking things off the list that you thought about all these benefits that you can provide for them.
I love that. And I think preparation is so key for two reasons. A, it makes you better if it's not the first time you're thinking about it when you're right in front of the person, because that's one of the things that can go when you're feeling anxiety is
Yeah.
thinking.
Yeah.
So you've already got clarity on it and you've practiced it. And for those of you who are in Kickstarter program, you will see in module 4, the marketing, we've got actually what to say to agents. But yeah, carry on, Mark.
Well, let me just ask you, did you find it interesting or impressive that I referenced two of your different podcast episodes by number?
Mark, I had written that down to mention that afterwards to say, whoa, Mark, you are a podcast guest and a half. I was loving that
Wow.
because
Well, I was just going to point out you probably weren't expecting that, right?
I was not expecting that. Was a cherry. I thought, oh my gosh, you're the first guest ever. This is we're on episode 34 of this one, and we're over 100 on my other type of episode, and no one has ever done that before.
Okay. Case in point right there. That's just being prepared. So just translate that over talking to an agent. You talk to an agent, you say, hey, look, I know you manage these other properties. I've seen these other properties. I know the problems that you have, yada, yada, yada. I don't know. You can even make stuff up if you don't have any experience at all, or make a hypothetical situation, depending on how much time they have. But preparedness is extremely important. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Next, speaking of that, lean on your experience and the case studies that you may have. If you're, especially if you've been in it for a while, obviously you can make referrals. You can talk about, hey, this happened a couple of years ago, and here's what I did about it. You know, a hypothetical situation, this flat flooded or something like that, and here's how I handled it. Just have that in your back pocket in case you do need to pull that out. Um, if you don't have any at all, then you need to think about some kind of value or character trait that you have that would translate well to um, rent to rent type situations. You know, it's one thing if you say, hey, I manage 300 properties in a year and I'm a pro at this. But if you don't have that experience, and you could say, hey, I've managed my parents' dentistry for 5 years or something like that, and I'm used to dealing with people and all of the problems that come up in a day. And it helps to kind of just establish some competency in you as a person, right?
Absolutely. I think that's such a bit of dynamite info there. And everybody has something. People can't see it, but I just say look for what you got because, for example, I had somebody who said, oh, I've got nothing. I've got no experience. But she was a nurse. Well, everybody trusts nurses. And not only that, you can say that your nurse colleagues are going to be living at the property, and that just makes it a win-win. One of our ladies, Maria, got her first property. She's an IT project manager, but she's got a family, and she just connected on a personal basis with the property owner, who was also a woman with a family. And so sometimes, and that trust built up, and even though it was her first property, she got it. So the connection can be anything because we're humans.
Yes. I was really intimidated when, before I closed my first, it's $1 million US dollars, but say £1 million, it's close enough. A big ticket sale. I've never made a sale that big before, but I had a lot of little minor wins in the past. And so what I did was, when somebody was, that's a big deal if somebody's going to trust you to handle that much money. And so I just took all my minor successes and just kind of bundled that up, kind of in my brain. So I was able to pull from all of those experiences before I received that big order. And I knew I could handle it, and I knew I could do it a good job, of course. So just a couple other minor points here. I would say that you need to conduct yourself confidently and collected, even if you don't think that you are. So when I was first starting out, it might help to literally talk to a wall. If you're not sure about how you're going to talk to somebody, have a hypothetical conversation, even with a friend, and have a friend be the hypothetical agent on the other line. It just helps you practice how you're going to conduct yourself when you're talking to people on the phone or even on emails. Type out a draft email and make sure it looks right before you just fire away. Um, and then last, I would say that you need to anticipate rejection. Think the term that you guys use is blokes over there, and my guy friends, you're used to rejection. Okay, it's not a big deal to you. You've been through it. For you ladies, I don't know, that might be a big deal to get rejected. Uh, it's in business world, of course. But to have a non-emotional mindset about it, it is just business. You are going to get rejected. You're probably going to get rejected more times then you get accepted. If you get accepted more times than rejected, then you might need to reconsider your business model because something's not lining up there. You're gonna get rejected. So, um, by the way, I think that's the first time that I've ever said the word blokes out loud. Do you use that word? Is that normal?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, absolutely. The other day, I didn't even realize I used this word, but I was talking about something and I said, "Oh, yeah, there was a chap there." And I was talking to one of your fellow Americans, and they just laughed. They couldn't believe that people said the word chap. But bloke, yeah, absolutely. I'm
Yeah.
right in there with blokes as well.
Hopefully, it's not offensive, is it?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Perfect. Well, yeah, rejection is part of being. I mean, salespeople that do it every day, they know that. But I would say normal people, at your average person that is probably part of your program, you could have a little bit of emotional attachment to it. Be like, look, I put so much time into this, and it's my personal property, and this is really important to me, and things like that. And I have heartstrings attached to this neighborhood that I grew up in, and I'd be so good at doing this, and
Yeah,
then and you get like five no's in a row.
yeah,
And and that can be disheartening. It can be, but it's just part of it. So it's part of
yeah.
throwing that net out there.
It is. It's part of success. You got to get the no's to get the yes. And every single guest that I've had on who's talking about their own story with rent to rent and getting their first rent to rent property, and they've been through so many rejections and come out the other side, but it's so worth it. So thanks for pointing that out, Mark.
Sure. Yeah, you never dealt with rejection before in your personal career, have you?
Sorry.
You've never dealt with rejection before in your personal career, have you?
No, never, never. Nobody's ever rejected me, Mark. Of course. How could they?
Yep, yep, yep. It's part of it. Anyways, those different qualities there. If you can wrap those up, that's a fantastic start to
Yeah.
building a foundation. In my opinion, if you can do all of that stuff well, you'll be what I call in my program on point. You're an on point salesperson if you can handle all of those things well, and it doesn't take a lot of practice to achieve that. I think.
I love it. I love the idea of being on point. We all want to be on point. So let us go back over those. You gave us more than 3 points, but let's go and let's summarize the points. So give us, in a short way, your number one. What was our number one, Mark?
Yeah. Okay. Number one, actually, number half. Okay. Take a deep breath and just understand that everybody's a person, and you are too. Um, the first point is do your research and prepare.
Okay.
Second point is lean on your experience or your case studies.
Yeah.
The third point is to conduct yourself confidently and collected.
Yeah.
And the last point, anticipate rejection.
That doesn't sound much fun.
It doesn't sound like fun, but when you finally get through and get some contracts going, that makes it that much sweeter.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, I love it. I really do. So the half one was know that everyone's a human. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. Number one was the preparation. I like that. Number two was lean on your experience or your personal qualities, because most people will be saying, but I don't have experience, Stephanie. But everyone gets their first deal. And they're leaning on either their experience that maybe not exactly rent to rent, but related, or their personal qualities that make them good for it.
Right.
And number three was be confident and collected. And number four was anticipate rejection. So those are really solid. Now, I thought we could bring it to life with a case study. You've worked with a lot of people all over the world through your Sales for Introverts, and it'd be great to hear a case study, Mark.
Yeah, sure. Well, one that I don't mind sharing, or she didn't mind sharing, it was a personal friend of mine, actually. They have a family business that they worked in, and her husband's family owned the business. And then I guess, I don't know if they inherited it or if they sold out, but anyways, my friend, who is not a salesperson by trade, she's just a shy introvert, all of a sudden inherits this jewelry business.
Hmm.
And there is a lot of face-to-face interaction in the jewelry world. It's not sitting behind a computer, it's dealing with people hands on. Okay, and her husband, she according to her, is the super outgoing, salesy, loves sales, loves being an extrovert. She is the exact opposite. And by the way, I don't know if it's some mystery in this world why people like that marry each other, but they end up being married to each other. I don't know how or why. But anyways, so she's found herself in a position where that she needs to support the business and she needs to be a part of it. She needs to be a public face within this business. And so when I announced that I was doing this course, she became interested and ended up going through it and said she loved it. First of all, the biggest thing for her was the validation of knowing that it's okay to be an introvert, it's okay to be shy and still be in sales. So she's able to take all that information. And by the way, a lot of that stuff that's in my course is stuff that we just talked about, those 3, 4.5 points, or how many points it was. But she took all that information and was completely validated and now has a foundation to go on forward in her business there, and not live day to day dreading going to work. That was my big thing too. And she said that too. But being able to provide that foundation to move forward and be happy and
Yeah.
successful in what she does.
That is such a huge one, Mark. Um, it's not always about the sales, although your techniques do help people to improve their sales. But just what you said there, she's not going to work dreading it every single day.
Yeah.
And that's the experience for many people. So it's the techniques, small shifts in the mind, big shifts in the life. I
Yeah.
think the happiness, the results, everything comes from the change in thinking.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of why I started doing this in the first place, is because I was in the same place. I was in kind of a dark spot, kind of mentally unwell and unhappy with where I was in life. I didn't hate my job, but I just wasn't in the right spot mentally. So I had to reset
Mhm.
and figure myself out. And that's things that we have to do as an adult, right? For
Yeah.
anybody, you know. So glad to have gotten to that point and glad to have helped her get to that point too.
Yeah. And the other thing that just occurred to me is what you were saying earlier when you didn't want to ask the waitress for a refill. But many of us, and I, as a growing up, I can remember actually crying if somebody would speak to me. Not because they said anything against me, but I just didn't know how to act if somebody spoke to me. Um, um, and I felt so worried. Anyway, you miss out on so much. On that example, it could be, if you're not with somebody who can ask for you, you just miss out on so many opportunities because you're not able to ask, or you're not able to speak, or you're not able to connect or speak to people or learn. Or so all the opportunities, or many of the opportunities, go past you because the good opportunities have a queue of people who are willing to ask or are willing to connect. So I think doing this work really improves your life so much, way beyond specifically selling and any pound or dollar amounts.
That's right. I want to agree with you right there. You do miss out on a lot. This is coming from someone who's lived through their life and missed out on a lot. And I know I missed out on a lot. And I'm still always going to be an introvert. I'm still always going to want to come home at night and flick on a movie on TV, right? Uh, and that's okay. But still, like during the day, I need to put myself out there to some extent. I can't just be a hermit who sits inside a cubicle and tries to reject all people. That's not a healthy mindset to have.
And it's liberating because since I stepped into this world where now people are like, but you're not shy, they actually can't believe, or introvert or whatever. But now I do feel confident. I do feel able to speak to most people. I mean, I will have my moments where I may not, but for the most part, I'm able to be confident. I'm able to ask for things. I'm able to do things when I feel nervous or anxious. I'm able to still take the action. And these have all been things that I learned. I actually did go through your program as well, Mark, and I found it super helpful to revisit all of this. For anybody going through and learning these techniques for the first time, it's life changing, absolutely life changing, and will just absolutely blow up what you're able to do in your life. But even for me, I was familiar with some of the ideas, but what I learned in your program built on those ideas and gave me some new ways of thinking, which has been super helpful. So, Mark, I know that people can find out more or maybe connect with you at, let me get this on the screen as we're speaking, salesforintroverts.com. Tell us what we're going to find over there, Mark. Why should people come?
Sure, yeah. Well, that's my landing page for my platform, salesforintroverts.com. I have an online course that sits there, and it's specifically geared for people who, as we've been talking about, are introverts. Maybe they're just shy. I don't know if you have any sort of resonation with those character traits. But anyways, we break those down, and as Stephanie mentioned earlier, make you more of a confident and a carefree salesperson if you do that day to day. Now, if you're doing rent to rent full time, if that's how you uh, build your income, or maybe if you do it part time and you do have some sort of a sales ish role in your job, then I would recommend you go check it out. Consider my online course to help you become more comfortable and confident. So, but also I've got a podcast, I've got a YouTube channel, I've got all sorts of content that you're welcome to go browse around for free, of course, as well.
So yes, sales. Oh, I'm echoing again. Sales for Introverts is the podcast. And Mark, is there a message you want to leave people with?
Yes. All right. So hear me out here. Okay. It's easy for introverts to feel overpowered, overlooked, but and that goes for shy people too, but your needs and your personality do matter too. And you can assert yourself or at the very minimum require equal respect from your extroverted friends, coworkers or peers, agents, customers for you. And the way to do that is to really understand your own personality, as we've been talking about. The old phrase, know thyself, really rings true. So you can really start to avoid situations that don't mold well to you, like boisterous, raucous crowds, and learn to adapt and approach situations in your own way. And when my boss told me when I was in my job, we were talking about earlier, that I needed to make 50 calls in a day, I bristled up. Like, I don't want to make small talk with 50 different people in a day and then come back the next day and do it again. I don't want to do that. That's not who I am. It's just a mindless metric that they gave me. So I carved my own path and I opted for less conversations and a more surgical approach. And note that I didn't say no conversations at all. I'm certainly one of those introverts that could go a few days before interacting with others, but that's just not exactly practical unless you're like a monk or something like that. But introverts and shy people don't shun interacting with others. It's just that our approach needs different consideration than the typical default extroverted pathways that other people take. Like someone just barging up to you, right up to you and saying, hi, hello, talk to me, in capital letters. That's not you. Okay. So don't try to be that. But all I can say is that hopefully I've helped unveil a few alternatives to you. And should you want to continue that, you're welcome to check out my stuff at salesforintroverts.com.
Lovely. And I do recommend that you do head over there to salesforintroverts.com. It's super, super helpful. And as I say, life transforming, because you get what you ask for in life. And being able to ask is something that these skills will really help you with, really come into yourself. So thank you, Mark Wilson, for joining us. It's been a pleasure and a thrill for me to have your y'all all on the show.
I didn't say it one time.
No, you didn't even say it one time. Come on,
Okay,
y'all.
y'all.
Yeah. There you go. There you go. Brilliant. We couldn't have had the episode if you hadn't said y'all. But thank you also for watching and for listening. And if you like these ideas, if you're in the Kickstarter program, this is all in module 3 in magnetic marketing, how to be magnetic and cause that magnetic attraction. So thank you for listening. As I say, thank you, Mark Wilson, for being so incredible. And I will see you guys again next week, and we'll have another question for you. See you then. Bye for now.